Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Yom Shishi Sameach. Happy Friday. And at the end of the week, hope your week was very productive and happy and fulfilling. Now, last time I did one of these, a couple of things. Somebody said you couldn't see my yarmulke, so there it is. I always like these. I like the smaller knit yarmulkes to wear, and sometimes I like to color coordinate them too. I prefer the black one, but I've also got red, blue, white, depending on what I'm wearing, what I'm doing, et cetera, et cetera. Also, a big shout out again to just one of my lost boys, one of my lost kids this week. Zach, congratulations. In about 3 weeks, you're going up for bar mitzvah, and we're all excited. We're all looking forward to it. You worked very hard. You took charge of a lot of the learning curve, and you did it on your own terms. And from what we heard the other day, it looks like you're going to do very well. And that's going to be the first weekend of June. So this week we are looking at the Parasha of Emor. Emor means to speak. God. A lot of the Torah portions start out with, Vaydaber Adonai al Moshe Lemor, Moshe v'Aaron. God said to Moses, speaking or saying, so it's very important. And Emor means speaking. You got Daber, which means tell, Omer, which means to speak. Very similar, but different kind of connotations. Say means I'm telling you something important. Now listen, okay? So the last week, of course, we had the double portion. We had a lot of commandments, a lot of things that we do, a lot of things that we don't do. And this week it goes back to talking more about the actual priest. Now it talks about the priests who officiated at the great temple, who did the sacrifices, did the services, that they also had to be very, very special, and they had to be pure. In fact, it goes on in saying that if a priest has a blemish, yes, they're still a priest, yes, they're still entitled to the tithe and some of the payments, but they don't, because there's something wrong with their body, they don't get to officiate at some of the services. And that's seen to be kind of, for lack of a better word, let's call it karma. For some reason, the priest is not maybe spiritually up to the task, so they have a blemish on their body, which kind of disqualifies them from officiating at a lot of these rites and services. Okay. It also talks about the anointment process, and then it talks a little bit about the holidays. Finally, it talks about the menorah and the showbread. Now, the menorah, of course, this is not the Hanukkah menorah that everybody thinks of when we say menorah. There was actually two menorahs. Let's consider this. There is the Chanukiah, which is 8. Okay, so you've got the Shemus, the middle one, the big candle that's in. A lot of times it's in the middle. Sometimes in some Alderman Chanukiah, it's on one side, and then you've got 8. For the 8 days that the oil miraculously burned after the temple was destroyed, and you only had enough oil for one day. But there was actually a 7-branched menorah that was also part of the synagogue. Okay, and this was lit every day, and there were very specific guidelines as to the purity of the oil that had to be used, and when it was lit, and it was basically kept lit all the time, even on Shabbat. Also the showbread, okay? Now, when we say a bracha or blessing for bread, what do we say? Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, who gives forth the bread of the earth, okay? Now, bread is lechem, okay? So why do they call it challah, okay? Challah, okay? Challah is actually the name of the offering. It's the grain offering that was offered in the temple, okay? So on Fridays, there was a table with 6 rows on one side, 6 rows on another side, and the showbread, it was bread that was shown, was put there, 1 loaf representing each tribe, right? And this was part of the grain offering. And then on Friday, the bread was given to the Kohanim to eat, and they were replaced by new bread. And the Orthodox Chumash says miraculously the bread stayed fresh for those 6 days until it was eaten. Okay, so let's look at the flow of this particular portion. Okay, and a lot of times we look at the Torah and it seems kind of disjointed. Why do they put this here? Why do they put this there? But there's a very cosmic intelligence, let's say, to the way the Torah is organized. So first we have the priests being told that there's a certain amount of purity that's required of them. Okay, and then it talks about the holidays, the Moedim. Okay, so it goes over the holidays, and the priests have to be in a certain frame of mind, because what happens during the holidays? We're celebrating, and let's think about this. Each particular holiday or festival, we're celebrating or acknowledging God's interaction with us. God is completely in the spiritual realm. We are almost specifically in the physical realm, and there's our connection, and it's all an intervention. Okay, so Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the spiritual year, okay, that's when we start to renew our involvement. We renew our commitment to being better people. Okay, God is giving us that chance to renew ourselves and live a better life. Yom Kippur, of course, we're fasting, we're proving that we're repenting. Then we got Sukkot, we're happy for the harvest, and we're also happy that God protected us during the 40 years of wilderness. Passover, that he led us out of slavery, etc., etc. So there's a certain amount of purity, a certain amount of dignity that needs to be expressed. Think about it this way. When you go to a job interview, okay, or when you're entertaining clients, what do? You don't walk around in ripped jeans, and look like you just walked out of bed, right? You want to take a shower, you want to clean yourself up, you want to smell nice, you want to look nice, you want to present your best clothes, okay? So you want to impress the person, right? You want to impress the situation. You want to put your best foot forward. And that's really what the priests are doing for the whole Kalal Israel, the whole congregation of Israel. Right? They're putting their best foot forward. And within that realm, okay, we're acknowledging God's presence on earth with each one of these holidays and festivals. Now, the end of the portion talks about a situation, unfortunate situation, and these things have happened, all right, where two men got into a fight or an argument, and it came to blows, and as it came to blows, one of the men used he cursed God. That's basically what he did. Okay. Now there's some question whether that person was an Israelite or he was one of the rabble that came out with the Israelites from Egypt. Because when all the Israelites left Egypt, some of the criminals, some of the undercurrent of Egyptian society went with them. And I think some of us will remember was back in the 90s in Cuba, right? Castro released a lot of the political prisoners, but he also released some of the criminal prisoners as well. It was kind of a lot like that. And this was somebody who was not committed to God, not committed to what would later become Judaism, didn't have that kavod, that honor, that heart, to serve God, and God's name really meant nothing to him. So he was just kind of taken out and cut off from his people. So we have a situation, again, it was an unfortunate situation, but it shows that we have to have respect for God. All right. Now, why do we have respect for God, and what's so important about the name? All right. And we even have one of our prayers, the third prayer in the Silent Amida, the standing silent prayer that we recite 3 times a day. The third prayer is, "Blessed are you, and blessed are your name." Well, in Judaism, your name is a reflection of your essence, okay? So we talk about God's name, the 4-letter, what they call the tetragrammaton, okay? The Yud He Vav He, that we do not pronounce, right? That is a representation, and it comes from the word Eyeh, Hoveh, the Yiyah. What is, Moses asked God who he is, and God says, I am, I was, I am, and I always will be. So it's a combination of the verb to be, all the tenses, to show that God is eternal. And the name is ineffable. All right? We don't pronounce it. What does ineffable mean? It means it's beyond our comprehension. We as mere mortals do not know God's name because we cannot fathom God's essence, God's true essence. Right? And we are unique among all the peoples of earth because we don't look for a physical representation of Hashem. And we a lot of times we don't even say his name unless we're praying, because we don't want to take God's name in vain by just saying, oh yes, God, or Hashem, Adonai, whatever. We just say Hashem, we show that respect. But a person's name is very, very important. When a child is given their name at birth, okay, that name is meant to reflect their spiritual essence. So a rabbi years and years ago, during my confirmation class, told me that my name, Shmuel, okay, he said his name is God. That's what it means. There's other interpretations of the name, like Yishmol, somebody who comes from the right. And coming from the right means that you're attuned to mercy, okay? So he said that, with that name, he said I was going to be very spiritual, and lo and behold, here I am, becoming a rabbi. So your name is very important. So the name reflects your essence. When Adam and Eve were going through the garden, well, when Adam, I'm sorry, was going through the Garden of Eden, and God said, name all the plants and animals that are in the garden. Adam was naming them according to their essence, according to what they were. The Hebrew name reflected what they were. When we go back to Genesis, okay, how is it described? God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So how was everything created? By the word of God. And of course, that's allegorical, it's metaphorical. God didn't really speak, or actually maybe he did. Okay, in the very mystical realms of Judaism, God spoke the letters, and the letters of the Hebrew Aleph Bet paired up and became the things. It became matter. Now, when you look at this scientifically, what does that tell us? Okay, what is this? This is matter, isn't it? Okay, so on one level, we see something solid, but is matter really solid? No, matter is made up of molecules, which are made up of atoms. What are atoms? Atoms are electrons, protons, and neutrons, but they are in fact 99.9% space. So how is it that we're looking at something that's 99.9% space, and yet we're seeing it solid? Because at this level of our perception, we are seeing gross matter. But on another level, there is it's a whole different realm of just continuous movement and energy. And if you look at God, this Big Bang theory, so to speak, okay, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. He said the letters became the words, became the things, etc., etc. So let's leave it off there. I like to kind of contain these to about 11, 12 minutes. I see I've gone over a little bit. So Shabbat Shalom. It is the 31st day of the Omer, and we're coming into Lag BaOmer, the 33rd, which is a special day of celebration within that realm. Hope you had a great week. Hope you're going to have a great weekend. And again, thank you again for listening. Any questions? I'm always ready.